Well, with CAFE, the corporate average fuel economy mileage standards are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. They just keep going up. Well, manufacturers have to employ new technology. And here on Tech Garage, we are all about technology. So today, we're going direct injection. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Dave, the keyword there, tech. Tech Garage, tech, we are all about it.
Technology drives this show, and it drives cars these days. There are computers everywhere, and cars are getting more and more complicated.
Yeah, hence this cool computerized engines on this stand. It's a GDI, gasoline direct injection. They call it GDI for short. But man, everything we want right here, the coolest demos on the planet. Only here at Tech Garage you're going to see this one, Dave.
This is a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine from a Hyundai Accent. The cool thing about it is there's a computer over there that enables instructors like John and Josh to program some kind of fault into it, and the students here at Chipola College have to diagnose the problem, and it's a great learning tool.
Yeah, and you know, it's come a long way from direct injection. Think about carburation. We took it from the top, we sucked it down into the cylinder, the air fuel, then we went to throttle body injection, basically the same thing like a carburetor, and then we went to multi-port injection. But the key is we were putting the gasoline on top of the valve, really not in that cylinder along with that pressure, Dave.
So what that was doing, the gasoline was actually cleaning off the valves on top. Well, now with direct injection, GDI, it's putting the fuel right into the cylinder. So now on top of those valves, the only thing we have is the oil to act as a detergent.
Yeah, we got a great picture. You can see that. It gets nasty. It used to be like that years ago, but it's coming back,
The problem's
Dave.
back.
Yeah, it's back. So number one of the inherent problems of a GDI engine, gasoline direct injection, oil changes are key, and using the right oil, Dave. You have to use the right oil. I got 5W30. We put that in everything. Heck, if it started knocking, we put some 50 weight in there. Absolutely opposite of what we should do.
And back in the old days, just dump some thicker oil and then solve your problem. Not so much anymore. The tolerances are tighter than ever. We're looking at 0W20, and again, oil is more important than ever, and using the right type.
Boy, it absolutely is. I mean, you think about this GDI system, we're actually driving a high pressure pump here. This puts 3,000 PSI through some actual lines here, steel lines, into the cylinder and injection. So number one, the oil is getting abused here by trying to make that pressure. Variable valve timing is getting abused there. We're using oil now more than ever for those components, and it has to be a better oil, and that's what we're putting in these engines.
Back in the days of carburation, we've looked and we've seen 5 PSI for the entire system. Now we're looking at 3,000 PSI for the direct injection. It's
exactly.
Nuts.
And that brings us to the line. Another problem with GDIs are when you replace these lines, these are the fuel lines. You guys are used to rubber fuel lines, not the case anymore. These are all steel, and right here on the end is this little fitting right here. It's like your refrigerator kind of compression fitting. So when you put this on there and you tighten it up, there's a good chance you may disform this right here. So what you want to do is replace these lines every time. We got this at RockAuto.com. If you're doing injectors, if you're opening up your fuel line, and follow your safety procedures to open up your fuel line, because 3,000 PSI, that's a gasoline laser cutter.
No doubt about it, and it's going to show up here at the injector. This is the injector itself. This white thing here is the O-ring, and that seals off the chamber once the fuel starts injecting. Well, if something goes wrong with that O-ring, if it starts to deteriorate, you get some blow-by, and the gas actually comes out through the cylinder, the air comes out through this little hole, and you can detect that. It sounds like an exhaust leak, and we grab a stethoscope and just leave it open-ended, and we can search down in here, and you actually hear the air puffing, kind of like when you're blowing across a bottle. You hear the same thing coming across your stethoscope when the air comes out.
And that's what we did, Dave. We replicated a problem here. It didn't come with the problem, obviously not, it's brand new, but we went ahead and did that just so you guys can hear it and see it and know what's going on. But here's the deal. Think about it. That other injector's on top of the valve, so we really don't have any pressure there. Matter of fact, a lot of times we just have vacuum there because we're sucking the air fuel into the cylinder. Now we got 100 PSI or more, 200, whatever it is in the cylinder, pushing against this. So if that's not seated right, or it's not in there, or it actually blows by or blows out, you're going to get that exhaust sound. Sounds just like an exhaust, man.
Amazing technology and incredible pressure inside these engines. When we come back, the Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com, we're going to tear it all down and we're going to show you what we find. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning into Tech Garage. We hope you're enjoying the show because we have a great time making it.
You can see some really fun behind-the-scenes stuff on our Facebook page every single week. And if you've missed an episode this season or any other, head on over to the Masters Entertainment Group website or YouTube page to get caught up. Keep it in park because Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, returns right after this. Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. When we left you, we told you we were going to tear apart this 1.6-liter Hyundai engine because we knew we had a bad injector in there. We planted it in there to show you for demonstration purposes here, and we're going to show you how we did that.
Yeah, but before you jump on the process, danger, Will Robinson, danger. All kinds of stuff going on here. You got high pressure system. Follow your service manual. We did ours. Could be 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 PSI. This thing is a laser cutter with gasoline. It will take fingers off, depressurize the system.
No doubt. And another safety note, make sure you disconnect the battery when you're doing stuff like this on your engine as well. Now, the first step, we had to remove the injector wiring plug that was right on top there. One bolt holding on the bracket, and that was it. Piece of cake, John.
Yep, and then the purge valve was connected to the intake manifold as well. So we just kind of looked around the intake manifold, made sure what had to be unbolted before we took it off and ripped something off.
We had to take the coolant elbow out of the way. A couple of bolts there. We swung it up out of the way. We didn't have to undo the hose clamps on either side, and we didn't think we'd have to get to the coolant system anywhere, but we did find one hose on the bottom side. We did disconnect that. That was that.
Yep, and then the throttle body and the map sensor was connected to the intake manifold, so we unbolted that. Make sure you check your service manual once again. Sometimes there's a learned procedure for that. It's a lot easier to leave the stuff on the intake manifold than disturbing it or taking it off. That's a big problem, so just check your service manual. Be gentle with these plugs.
John, only 5 bolts holding on the intake. I think there were 3 on the bottom, 2 studs on the top. And we were able to pull the intake off after that.
Yeah, and it was on to the injectors, man. There was a couple bolts holding the injector rail on. This is actually the plug Dave was talking about when it was the connector actually to the intake manifold. But more important is the actual rail right here. Now you can see what's going on. The fuel's coming in here, high pressure. Once again, we got the line to replace that with. That's coming up here. So that's located on the block from the pump over to here. So we got to here, and then we're going to replace that line as well. The fuel's coming in at 3,000 PSI, usually 40 or 50 to the high pressure pump, and then jacks it up there. So this is all steel. All the injectors are steel. Everything here is going into the intake manifold. Now here's a tip for you. Make sure you all these gaskets and all these seals down here, they could be in the actual head or the actual block itself. So go down there and pick gently and make sure that they're here. Make sure you harvest every seal, and at the top the same thing. Sometimes you pull them out, they'll be stuck in here like this one is actually stuck inside of there right there. So make sure you get those out, Dave. And you got your failure analysis for us.
That's right. Here's the injector we looked at before the break in the last segment. The white one here, and you can see that looks good, and it is standing proud of the rest of the injector there. This is the failed one. We put a slit in there, and it's also worn way down. It's not going to seal anything there, and it's super brittle. I think that's, yeah, look at that. Came right off there. So we know that one is bad, and that's definitely the reason we need to replace this. And you talked about the new seals there. We can put those on. Let's look at the seals that are on an injector here. The combustion seal we just talked about. The rubber washer there, item number 2, that seals the injector to the outside of the combustion chamber. And then 3 and 4 there, the support disc and the O-ring, that is where the injector connects to the fuel rail.
We'll go ahead and reverse the procedure, put it back together, key it up, make sure we have no fuel leaks, and we should be good to go, Dave.
You got it. And John, when we come back, we've got our segment we love to call Keep It or
Crush It!
Taking a first look at our Chevrolet K10 up next on Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Don't go anywhere.
This is Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Now we've been doing the Keep It or Crush It segments, and this is one of my favorites. Dave, this is a rare bird. This is a 1984 K10 Scottsdale short bed pickup truck V8, man. This thing is awesome.
4-wheel drive, 84,000 original miles on it.
You got it.
An unbelievable find, and we took it last week. We gave it a visual inspection. We wanted to make sure the body was straight and the frame was straight and everything looked good. And we knew if we just cleaned it up and got it running, we could take a $1,000 investment and turn it into $8,000 just by doing that. So we started with the cleaning. We had our boy J-Rod do a Comet wash, which takes some of the oxidation off and just the grime that's been building up. This thing's been parked for 11 years. We found the old registration and really cleaned it up nicely, and it was kind of a day and night difference.
It really did, man. Looking at it, heck, I might just put a clear coat on it and patina it. It looks pretty good, not in bad shape at all. Couldn't wait though. Had to go ahead and put a battery in the engine compartment. I want to see what was going on. I was pretty shocked, man. The dash lights all came on. Went to start it, clicking over, the fan's moving. I'm not sure if the engine's seized up or it's just the armature and the starter's all rusted. Who knows? But a little promise in there, you know. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. We got friends in high places, man. We can rebuild the engine or get a whole new one. We'll see what happens as we get a little deeper into it. Well, after the engine, better go to the brakes. So we went ahead and took the wheels off, got it up in the air. You can see the hubs have the grease on there and stuff. I couldn't even get the hub off, but it's a brake issue, Dave. We need to just go ahead and do rear brakes, get it in good shape. Look at the shock absorbers. They're flopping all over. Like you said, 11 years it's been sitting there. That's a long time. Going over to the actual rail, the step rail, welded on, not our style, Tech Garage. We're gonna get that thing nice. Front brakes, well, had a little bit of meat on there, but once again, that much years, that much sitting. Let's just put calipers, brakes, rotors, pads, bam, we'll get that in good shape. I mean, no problem.
Just the right thing to do if you've already got it up on a lift. And once we had it up for the brakes, we decided to lift it all the way up and take a look underneath here, John. It's the first look we're getting at the bottom of the vehicle here. Surprisingly well preserved.
Yep.
For having sat for 11 years. Taking a look at the rear bumper, rusted out there. That's a lost cause. So a few bolts, we can take that off and we'll get a new one from RockAuto.com.
No problem. Well, you got your tetanus shot?
Let's take a look.
Let's head up to the front.
I'm not afraid.
Yep, differential, a little bit of grease, no big deal.
No big deal. It's probably just the gasket here on the back cover. So we'll be able to replace that, flush it, and replace the rear cover and the gasket.
Got to put new fluid in there, yeah, and that'll take care of that. Getting over here, we got the drive shaft. We'll give it an old test. No problem with the U-joints, no problem with the pinion. Then we got up to the exhaust. I was pretty excited. I said, man, it looks good at first glance.
For just a second, but then look at this. Yeah, so it wasn't as good as it looked. The good news is it's the original exhaust. So if you buy an OEM replacement from RockAuto.com, it's going to fit exactly where it needs to fit.
It sure will. We'll move up to the cat.
Well, here's your museum piece, John. This is an old pellet-style catalytic converter, bigger than they are today because they're the honeycomb style. It's different. It does the same thing.
Oh, man, there's more rhodium, palladium, and platinum in those little pellets than at Fort Knox, man. We may have to cage this thing off.
Well, maybe I just need a hacksaw. I need to take this thing out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, transfer case because it's four-wheel drive. Man, not an ounce of leakage on here. Everything looks pretty good. We haven't shifted it into four-wheel drive yet, but it's promising, very promising. Head up to the transmission. What do you think?
Transmission's got some fluid on it, but it's kind of the normal leakage. It really doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, and we got a manual bulletproof transmission. They call these things those top loaders, man. That thing's pretty bulletproof. Oil pan, wow, dry as can be. Maybe there's no oil in it, I'm not sure.
Well, either way, we know it wasn't leaking originally.
Yeah, our front drive shaft, our front differential here, everything's in great shape, no leakage right here.
Nothing on the cover.
No, man, this is impressive, all right?
Yeah, and the steering dampener, we're gonna need to replace those. You can see the bellows on here are torn. That's just dry rot, and
that's all. You got some sticks here to take off? Or?
John, those are thorns.
Oh, thorns.
It's not good.
Awesome. Well, we come up to the front here, our radiator. Oh, remember earlier? Look at that.
Oh, good. They're our friends, the Wasps.
There's your friends, the Wasps.
Well, we did see a couple. Oh,
no, it's good.
There's a couple others under there, too, so we're going to take
wait a minute. We even got a mud dauber nest.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, this is a museum piece.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we haven't found that snake yet, by the way.
Yeah, right. That's coming next. But here's the front bumper. Looks good. We probably don't even need to replace that one if we had to. RockAuto would hook us up there as well. Man, this one, Dave, is definitely a keeper.
That definitely gives us a place to start with RockAuto.com. We have a wish list. And when we come back, we're going to check in with Tom over at the Rock Auto desk. All that and more when Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, returns.
Well, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Tech Garage. I know we are. But you can also tune in to Motorhead Garage. Dave, you're a man of multi-talents, and Motorhead Garage, well, that's a great show.
Well, the show's great because we show you all the latest technology and all the coolest aftermarket gear for your vehicle. It's the only place on TV that does that, John.
Yeah, make sure you check them out on Sunday mornings at
8:30 a.m., only on Motor Trend. Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. This is Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Tom Taylor's visiting us from RockAuto. And Tom, we've been looking at this K10 here. This is a vehicle that's almost 40 years old. And we know it needs a lot of parts. how can RockAuto help us out in finding what we need for this truck?
Yeah, RockAuto has parts for your daily driver and your classic you're trying to restore, and the K10 is becoming a classic. It's super popular. We have all sorts of body parts, body panels that commonly rust out, the cab corners, the rocker panels. You don't have to try to fabricate that yourself. You just get a sheet metal that fits exactly.
I know it's kind of a panic. You know, an alternator is kind of an alternator. You can make one fit any vehicle, but when you're looking at body panels and stuff like that, that's something that a lot of folks kind of freak out about. What am I going to do to replace this part?
Yeah, we'll have the parts that wear out like alternators, and we'll not only have the part, we'll have a choice of brands, which is pretty cool for an older vehicle. And the neat thing about the K10, we have a lot of interior parts, things like door panels that you're never going to find in a junkyard, or the dealer won't have it anymore.
Well, and that's the chance you used to have to take. Back in the old days, you couldn't find something in the junkyard, or maybe you found it sun faded, not the right color, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, a 40-year-old door panel, yuck, moldy mess.
Right, yeah. So you get a brand new one from RockAuto.com, and we're talking model-specific stuff. We're not talking about a generic fit, a universal thing.
Right, for your specific year and choice of color. So yeah, you don't have to settle for a blue door panel in a green truck or something. You can get the color you need.
RockAuto.com has all the parts your car will ever need, and you don't have to compromise. They have the specific part you need for your vehicle inside and out. You know, John Gardner is a professor of automotive technology, and I bet you we're going to learn something over here at Garage Ed.
Well, it's that time, folks. It's time for Garage Ed, and everybody's been waiting for this segment. It's all about the diagnostics. Now, we learned everything about the air-conditioned system, from how it works, the cycles, to the components, but you want to know how to diagnose it. Well, that's pretty easy. You got to get a gauge set, and I have one right here, and it's super simple to use. You can take a gauge set. These are called quick disconnects, and the newer systems have this right here. You just find it on your car. There's a high and a low side. Now, the low side, that's your low pressure side. The high side is the high pressure side. So what I do is take this cap off right here, come over, and simply just connect it. Bam, like that. And then you want to open it up and read the gauges. But you know, Josh, we don't even need that on our high-tech trainer because we have built-in gauges. And boy, you can teach a ton with those. Josh, have at it, brother.
Well, the first thing we're going to look at is our static pressure. Static pressure, static, stationary, not moving. So what that is our gauge readings without the compressor running. So if you look right here, it's about 75 on the low side and 75 on the high side. And that's about where it needs to be because our static pressure should reflect about what the ambient temperature is, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it up. And what's going to happen is my high side is going to start going up. The compressor is going to be building pressure. But at the same time, my low side is going to be going down because it's pulling from the low side. So when I say high side, I'm talking about the side that the compressor is building up between the compressor all the way up to our restriction, in our case, our TXV. The low side is the other side of the TXV where we have our pressure drop all the way back to where the compressor is sucking in on that side. So let me go ahead and crank it up, and let's watch these gauges. And just as I said, it's slowly starting to climb. The system's getting acclimated, and it's going to start going up. You can see the refrigerant flowing. This side's going up, and our low side is going down.
Awesome. Why don't you shut it off? And you know, we actually have different scenarios, which is really cool. That's what Josh just said. Now, if it's running and it's not static pressure, you can see it usually on the low side. You have around 30, somewhere around there. Now it's going to vary with temperature. It's going to vary with refrigerant, types of refrigerant. Make sure you check your service manual. All right, so 30 is somewhere between 150, 175, 225 on the high side. That's good. Now, here's a scenario for you. The low side is a little bit high, and the high side keeps climbing higher and higher and higher. What that is, it's a restriction across the airflow that's coming into the condenser in the front of the car. Maybe you picked up a bag, food sucked up in the radiator or something. Usually the car will be getting hot as well, but both sides will go high or you'll have an overcharged system. Now, if they're both low, well, that's pretty simple. It's probably just an undercharged system. The low side's low and the high side is low. And then you have the last scenario here, which is the low side is high, and then the high side is low. And Josh mentioned that pretty good. The compressor's not doing its job. The low side is actually going high because it's not pulling, and the high side is actually going low because it's not pushing. So it's a compressor or a clutch. Now, boy, that's some high-tech diagnostics, but you can get out there and do it right in the driveway. This has been a high-tech show. All we have to do now is go over and let's wrap it up.
I think Ronald Reagan said it best when he said, trust but verify. And I know, John, you do good work, but we always want to make sure our repair was done right.
That's right, Dr. Dave. What you want to do is you actually want to verify the customer's concern to start and verify the repair. Absolutely. But the moment of truth, let's see what happens here, Dave. Let me fire this up.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect.
How dare you doubt me, Dave?
We never doubt you. We always want to make sure that we're only human.
Absolutely. And what a phenomenal show we had today, Dave. I'm falling in love with that K10 pickup truck, no doubt about it.
We knew it would be that way. It was a beautiful truck to begin with,
Yeah.
and it just gets cooler the farther we get along in the project. And in Garage Ed, we learned about reading gauges.
Yeah,
that was pretty informative stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. You want to read gauges anytime you do any air conditioning work, but you know what? We're out of time for today. But join us on social media. We're all over the place. And Dave, we love to hear their questions and comments. Where do we send them to?
You can email us at feedback@techgarage.tv. We'll try to get your email question on the air.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of them on the air. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been great hearing from you guys.
Absolutely. Well, we'll hear from you next week because that's it from Tech Garage, from Chipola College here in Marianna, Florida. We'll see ya.
See ya. Cool, this is cool.
Yeah,
Put your
I
little-
love this thing, man.
Production assistance provided by Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. Chipola was founded in 1947 and it was recently ranked among the top 3 community colleges in the United States.